Today we're going to compare the cameras on iPhone 15 Pro Max versus the iPhone 16 Pro. So on iPhone 15, we know that they got color profiles, and it's the same with iPhone 16 Pro, but there's a lot more options and I find it more fun to use. You can always customize it to however you like. Some of them can be too strong, so you can lessen it a little bit. And every time you exit the camera app and go back to it, it will always be there for you. So it's great if you always want that specific look. But obviously for this comparison, we're going to stick with the standard color profile. And I'm just going to say this right now, a lot of it is pretty similar to each other from the 15 to the 16. You might see some slight changes, like one of them can be a bit warmer than the other, or it can be more contrasted, but you would really have to look for it. It's not too obvious, but sometimes it can be, and I feel like that depends on the auto mode and how it processes at that time and moment. Now, I'm just glad that they put the 5X on a smaller iPhone Pro model this year, because the iPhone 15 Pro Max or the Max versions is just too big for me. So with the smaller physical shape, I'm just glad that it's just more comfortable for me to take pictures and videos. So the reason why I bought the iPhone 15 Pro Max is because of the 5X telephoto, and since the iPhone 16 Pro has 5X now, I'm glad that I don't have to go to the bigger model just to get the better telephoto camera. There is a new 48 megapixel ultra wide camera on a 16 model, and putting them side by side, it's still pretty similar to each other. Maybe the 16 model is just a bit brighter in the highlights, and with the new processor, it does feel slightly snappier but barely noticeable. So if these two cameras were not side by side, then you probably cannot tell which one is which. In order to see a difference, you would probably have to zoom in really close, or if you're planning to blow up the picture or print it out, that's where the 48 megapixels really help. Next up is portrait mode, and they are pretty much the same experience, the same focal lengths, so you get 1x, 2x, 5x, and they are pretty much exactly 1-to-1 to each other. So I'm going to talk about the camera experience here, and I really like having that new camera button. You guys know I take a lot of photos for camera comparisons, and a lot of them are Androids. For the most part, you can double press on a power button to bring up the camera, and I'm so used to that, and I find it much quicker. So now with the new button on iPhone, it's pretty much the same thing. But it's also more advanced where I can lightly press on it and I can switch to different lenses or different modes or change to different tones. So there's a lot more going on with this button. And if you really like to share Instagram stories, you can actually assign that button to bring up the Instagram camera and press that button to take a picture, and you have the option to share it to your stories right away. For selfies, it's still the 12 megapixel camera, and again, most of it is pretty much the same. And once we move to the low light photos, it's no surprise that they are pretty similar as well. Usually when it's nighttime, especially if it's an Android phone, taking photos does take a bit longer, and you can feel and see the processing time once you hit the shutter button. And I always find the iPhone non-existent in that category because it's so smooth. If anything, I noticed that the night mode pictures are just a second shorter than the iPhone 15. So the pictures from daytime to nighttime and the camera performance are pretty similar to each other. So you can also expect the video side is also very similar. And again, you can probably see some differences in terms of the color temperature, because with this shot and the next shot, which is both different areas, I do see that the iPhone 15 Pro Max is a bit cooler. Now, a new feature on iPhone 16 Pro is you can shoot up to 4K 120, and you also get that new audio effect where you can enhance the voice, which kind of reminds me of the Pixel speech enhancement, and I tend to always leave that on, so whenever I'm vlogging, it just hears my voice or picks up my voice a lot better. So in terms of the camera quality between these two phones, you don't see a huge difference at all, even if there is a new ultra wide camera lens. Where I do see the biggest improvements of the camera experience is the features. Like, you get a lot more photographic styles, the physical camera button, and being able to switch between a lot of different modes or using the camera features or settings, or if you always wanted that 5x telephoto lens but you don't want the bigger phone. And of course the 4K 120, which I don't know how often people would normally use that, but it's great if you want to do some cinematic slowdowns or capture some slow-mo footage. So yeah, this comparison basically shows you that you're not going to be getting a huge quality difference or improvement, but it's more about the features and especially the camera experience with the new camera button. So let me know your thoughts about the new iPhone 16 Pro, and will you be upgrading? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.